Sai Ram Om Sachinanda Ki Jai Om Sai Ram. So I'm on my buddy Andy, who just commented. Thanks for commenting, bro. And I'm really glad you did that so we could talk about it. I gave you a response about that so we could get to the bottom of truth with ourselves. And also my buddy Warbeak incentivizing me to make some videos, so I'd love to come make some videos. And so something I've been recently thinking of is basically, to just maybe clear up some misconceptions about evolving your consciousness and stuff like that. So, something I'd like to make sure you guys know is that, here, I'm going to move the mic real quick, is that there is a way that everyone is being pushed towards. There is a way that we're all being pushed towards, and this becomes obvious to you eventually, right? And I'm going to explain that a bit more too, how it becomes obvious to you. So there's a way we're being pushed towards, and you can think of, basically, when you think of darkness or fear, that's basically just an extra rumination of energy, and you could say, so instead of just going straight to the goal, fear and darkness sort of make that energy ruminate for just a bit until the pain and the darkness itself destroys itself, in the sense that it's too much for you and you have to do something about it, and something does get done about it, right? And the evolution takes place. So understanding that consciously, right, we can now be mindful with that type of understanding, right? And we can start to evolve our consciousness a bit more, right? So remember, so basically fear is basically the only thing in your way. Fear is basically the only thing in your way, and a lot to do with evolving your consciousness is how you're relating to stuff, right? And so basically, you really kind of are relating to stuff with no fear or fear, right? So you'll realize when you're not relating with fear, what happens is the illusion stops being there. Whatever is scaring you stops being there, and what's really there is yourself. Okay, because that's all there actually is, right? And that's what we're getting back to as well. And the only thing in the way of that is fear, right? And so we can talk about it more, because the truth is dynamic. There's many ways for me to talk about it, right? So if there's an illusion going on, it's basically because you don't realize it's yourself, right? Why don't you realize it's yourself? Because there's fear that's stopping you from peering deep inside of it. Well, when you get rid of the fear and peer deep inside, your mind quiets, because the quietness is you, and that is yourself appearing, right? So you recognize it's yourself, right? And so I was talking to some guy, or a beautiful soul, and I think his name might be Matt, but I guess I won't say all of his information, I guess. But he was talking about, he basically said, he's like, well, like, if you're meditating to get enlightened, doesn't that mean you're not going to get enlightened? And so that is coming from, so I understand why he says that, right? So like I said, so as you commit more and pull away from your selfishness, in the sense of like all this really silly stuff you're focused on in a selfish sense, things start to become more apparent. So the way that you, which is like the only thing here, is relating to everything, right? The way the external is relating to the self becomes apparent. It becomes mechanically apparent to you and sensationally apparent, okay? In the sense that, so no longer are you attacking this type of topic from the sense of ego, in the sense that you're going to assign yourself 10 points for being enlightened. That's right, that's crazy ego, okay? But eventually you get past that, and it just becomes obvious that it becomes mechanically obvious how this works. And so you're going to meditate, and you're going to calm your mind down and everything like that. And a part of this mechanical obviousness, I can branch off and describe it in many ways, and how that explicitly manifests, okay? So like, you don't want to hurt other people, so you want to clean yourself out. You realize that going to the external is a denial of the true self inside, right? So, right, it becomes mechanically obvious to you that the self is inside. It is, and when you get invested in the external, a lustful partner, the finessing of a desire, etc., this is a denying of the inside self, okay? Because usually, right? So stuff like this becomes obvious to you, and this is where people, this is like, if you ever hear about get rid of the ego, this is kind of what it is. You get rid of the ego in the sense that the nature of reality becomes obvious to you and pushes you one way, and it's no longer an agonizing ego thing about your image of self-worth and stuff like that. It is a very basic um, realization of the nature of reality and how it's relating back to yourself. How everything is always relating back to the self. And it always is, guys. The self is the only thing that we're relating to all the time. Okay? Even in the sense that, so let's say you ever see someone and they trigger you? Yes, they're triggering you because it's yourself. They're people in front of you that make you uncomfortable and anxious. It is 100% your own insecurity, right? And so you have two options. People have two options to either bring these insecurities back into their body and process them. Especially, and this is especially good when it's the sneaky ones, when you think it's the other person's stuff. It's not. It's always your stuff, and you can always bring it back in. And so that's the reason you always get triggered in the same way by people, actually, or see them in the same way, like see a decrepit quality in people all the time, is because you've pushed that insecurity outside of your body, and now you only let it relate to the self in other bodies. And the thing is it has to come into your body to be processed. Otherwise, it follows you around, and it relates to the self, but in a not so apparent way to you. It relates to the self in the external bodies, and it's your body's job, not theirs. So that's why it hangs around. It's still yours, and it's always yours. Now, you can realize that if you're hanging on to this, yes, you're causing yourself a whole ton of suffering. The most part, you're just screwing with your own body. But there are plenty of chances that you cause agitation among other people because of this, right? And so this would be another thing of how you understand the nature of reality and how you just, you take it into your own hands. It's no longer about achieving some ego thing. It's about letting the nature of reality shine and understanding that you got some work to do to not fuck with other people. One aspect of it. See, so what I'm doing right there is I'm using the power of my breath to rewire myself and to obliterate my ego problems, my devious, demonic qualities. Okay? The less selfish you get in terms of you're so engrossed in these mundane external fears and desires to try and quench your agony of self-image, the less you are engrossed in that, the more you pay attention to the kaleidoscope of life, of reality, and the limitlessness of your being. Okay? As of now, so many people are focused on the institution and how it's conditioned them and their selfishness that relates to it. So basically, they're focused on their codependency with the institution. And it's their whole focus. And this is why, because love is such a big deal that it creates, when you make it a codependent thing, it really hypnotizes people and makes them psychotic, right? They're so focused because they must love themselves, but a part of this is that they've created a codependent thing. That means that it's built on conditions of construction, right? Society tells you all this stuff that you must do, and you believe that you have to do it to love yourself. And so that's why people are so caught up in this way of thinking, or this very narrow view of reality. Well, if you can get past that and start loving yourself, you start to become aware of a lot more things. You might be clairvoyant. You might be able to feel the energy in your body, around your body, move the energy with your hands, all sorts of stuff, spiritual truths, all sorts of stuff, how food affects you, okay? There is so much to become aware of, right? But again, the real deal thing is to go where we're being pushed, okay? And it becomes, and like I said, as you pull away from the selfishness, things start to become more obvious, like I said, right? Enlightenment is no longer an ego thing built on quenching quenching the agony of ego, which is like thinking you're a loser for not having something, or trying to create a big image to fight your other image of shame or something like that. It becomes, it just becomes a simple kind of thing that needs to be done that is very truthful and relates to truth. It is the truth to you, right? Cleaning yourself out is the truth, right? And so yeah, I really recommend that you guys do use your breath. You got to use your breath. If you're not aware of your breath, like, it should just become a normal thing for you to be aware of your breath. Okay? And to be honest, God is with the breath, like, really, in a very real way. God's everywhere, but the breath is just an amazing place for it. And that's where yourself is as well. You are God, right? So, and the breath circulates your energy too, okay? Yes, the energy goes up your spine, guys. It's how the game is. It's how the game is. The energy goes up your spine for you to reach clarity and stuff like that, okay? Yeah, there could be other ways and stuff like that, but really, to be honest, like, you gotta start getting control of your energy, alright? Right now, I have energy on my third eye. I can move my energy around my body. I can even move energy outside of my body. And I'm treading lightly to tell you this, okay? Do not judge me. There's a reason why monks and other saints don't speak on stuff like this. It's because it's incredibly bad karma for you to judge them. That's why they don't tell you, okay? So, if you just judge me, I forgive you, alright? And I'm gonna ask you to ask for forgiveness every time you do judge someone, alright? This is how karma works as well. That's how karma works, okay? I also, guys, you guys shouldn't be watching people fail on YouTube. You shouldn't be watching people fight. You shouldn't watch car crashes on YouTube, people dying. You shouldn't watch, like, really, we have to really rethink the way that our mainstream society is. Even something like SpongeBob, if you watch it, it's like constant bullying. Your decision to take this as entertainment has karmic backlashes, okay? And then really, like, there's even, like, and this is like, that's like SpongeBob. Like, I'm sure a lot of you watch, like, some awful shit where awful stuff happens to people, okay? Why are you looking for entertainment in horrific things? This is not good karma for you. You got to tell God, I don't find happiness or entertainment in this. I don't want this in my life, okay? So that's another part, right? Just commit to it, guys. It can be agonizing when your ego is really there and you want to get rid of it. I know it can be agonizing, but as you sit and breathe with it and work it out, you really do work it out, okay? And I really suggest that you guys pray to some saints or enlightened beings. These guys are going to be the wire pullers for the rest of your life, okay? They're coming to you right now. Do you receive it? Okay. These guys give you opportunities, right? You might have a big opportunity to get rid of your karma and you kind of screw it up. Well, guess what? The wire pullers put it right back in front of you, okay? That's how it works. Because you have consciously aligned yourself with all that's good, cleaning yourself out to stop the pain you're feeling and the pain that everyone else feels. Well, guess what? They want to help you with that. God wants to help you with that, okay? And that itself is karma, right? A very good karma. And like I said, so really, even this realization of the nature of how things are just relating back to the self that everyone is and that you are, how things relate back to the self, okay? That is going to destroy your ego. If you can start focusing on that, it's going to destroy your ego, right? It really is. You don't need to, yeah, you corral the ego, but you don't need to focus on its constant behavior. Why don't you focus on the suffering it creates? Does that make sense? Because when you understand the suffering that the ego is creating, you're starting to really look at the mechanical nature of external and self. And you're actually starting to destroy the ego at that point in a big way. In a big way. When you accept that your excursions to the external are causing you insane amounts of discomfort and pain, you accept that you obviously have nothing to do with the external in the sense that there's nothing, you understand? There's nothing for you to finesse because you are the one, which is the self, right? You are the one, which is the self that wrote the external game for yourself, right? So if you think you need to finesse the external, you're denying the fact that you're the one that wrote the game and already designed what you're going to receive. And you deny the self right there. You deny God right there, right? You can't do that. You have to get over your fucking fear about finessing the external world. Because if you have that fear about finessing the external world, you are denying that you wrote the game for yourself. Okay? And yes, if you realize you wrote the game for yourself, your life is going to be a whole lot better, most likely, than someone that doesn't realize it. There is a karma aspect as well, right? There's a huge karma aspect. There's karma, if you could get, there could be karma for you to get your leg cut off, but if you are living your life in a way that I might be describing, that'll just be a scratch on your leg, right? Swami Kriyananda said that. And it's so real. Okay? Right? Fear is a thing in your way, right? Fear is a denial of the unity that wrote the game, the perfection that wrote the game, right? There's nothing to fear if there's only one thing that wrote the game, right? Something that's one isn't that harmonious, that's unity in love, obviously. And if you have fear about this whole thing going on, you're denying the totality of what you were. Not what you were, what you are right now, too. What you are right now. And that's the whole thing. You realize what you are right now and how the external relates to it. Right? And so that's how we get work done, boys. Om Satchinanda Ki Jai. Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Ram. Om Neem Karoli Baba. Jai Shri Hanuman. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our children of love now and forever. Amen, guys. Amen. Bless up, peace up. I love you. Seriously, I do. Because if I don't, it goes against the fundamental mechanics and nature of reality. Yes, it is extremely sacred as well. That's a part of it. Bless up.